Hello everyone, I'm Chris Mozillo, Sidon-son, and wouldn't you know it, it's a review of Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. With the new Zelda game out, it finally gives me a reason to actually play my Wii U again. Either way though, a new Zelda game's out, and it's pretty alright. Damned with faint praise. You're Link, a boy who wakes up naked in a strange bed and have no idea where you are or who you are. A heavy night's drinking can do that to you. You and your naked body almost immediately go native. But eventually you find your way into a story of some form, mainly by being haunted by an old man like it's Mr. fucking Ben over here.
As if by magic, the shopkeeper appeared.
That's sort of more or less where the story leaves you though. They just drop you off into this big open world and, give you your contactless payment method. I guess they wanted to avoid card clash.
But remember to watch out for card clash.
And they set you out into this wild, wild world where you'll die constantly and endlessly. You'll die to ancient machines. Oh man, I've got so much junk in my inventory. Ugh. Uh-oh. You'll die to things with legs. Oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck. Who's this little fella? Oh no, not so little, not so little! Jesus. Well, at least I finally killed it, but what's the sparkle all about? Oh. Or just die from falling. Breath of the Wild is open world. Very open world. Overwhelmingly open world.
Emptily open world.
This is both a blessing and a curse. The sense of adventure is wonderful at times, as you'll see something on the other side of a cove and think, I'm gonna run to that, and then you spend an hour just running through the mountains and climbing things and falling off of things and maybe dying repeatedly, trying to get to this random point on the map and having this grand adventure. But then you'll spend like a minute or three running through a big open field with nothing in it and nothing to do. Sure, you could get a horse, but the frequency in which they get caught on a bit of rock in the ground or left behind whenever you want to decide to start climbing up a cliff bare-chested just doesn't make it worthwhile. I found myself just throttling the sprint button more often than not. But then at the same time, you'll be exploring in some far corner and discover something completely new and wonderful that you'd never really found before. Like an ancient myth dragon flying through the sky. I don't really know what I was expecting to happen here. There's such a focus on the open world aspect of the game that it's almost unrecognizable as a Zelda game. Dungeons are more or less non-existent anymore, replaced by these single-room puzzle chambers, scattered across the land for no reasonable reason other than to entice you into exploring the world. Don't get me wrong, the puzzle rooms are fun and oddly dangerous at times as well. Ugh. Oh, come on! But even the super important mega things that take place in the story are just larger puzzle rooms, with nothing more to them than just that. These structured areas which are specifically designed for you to go through in a specific direction or come at it from a specific point don't really exist anymore. In the Goron area, I just found myself climbing over the top of everything. Oh, I'm on fire. I felt I ended up skipping large portions of the map just by gliding over them. Whether it's gliding in from some weird angle in the Ruto area to somehow avoid this pathway that existed, or just getting to a shrine without going through the minecart ride that was clearly laid out as the means of getting to it. shit. One of my favourite moments was going through the Zora portion of the game, and this was mostly because due to the weather effects, I was unable to climb on anything. I had to go down this set path where, things were laid out in a means to actually get in my way, specifically for that. Not to mention, you meet Prince Sidon, who's kind of wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how the internet took to him. I regret everything. The game gets genuinely interesting at times when it decides to try and tell you a story with some structure to it. Like the Gorons and their cloth thongs. Or the Gerudos. Which was just wonderfully fleshed out with you sneaking into their city in ludicrous ways. And the quirkiness of Zelda games that we've come to know and love still exist in this game, be it some of the larger-than-life characters that you come across during the main story, or smaller things like writings on a chalkboard here and there, or just some of the random NPCs you come across. However, there are also about a million other NPCs who have nothing really to add to it and just have quests which are almost burned down to collecting just 10 bear asses with each and every one of them. This ends up meaning that you have waves and waves of characters who are just forgettable and don't really add anything to anything other than just something for you to do in this wide and open world, and they end up obscuring the fun characters with their interesting side quests which have a little more thought to them than collecting lizard tails again or 10 cockroaches. Don't get me wrong, I love that the world feels alive despite having been almost completely destroyed.
Appointed knight, brave Legal, collapsed while defending the princess.
You have NPCs just walking around the world along paths from city to city or village to village, and it just ends up meaning that you don't feel so lonely in this giant wilderness. Unless you're like me and spend most of your time climbing up cliffs with your shirt off, away from any form of civilization or NPC. One of my biggest complaints with this game is it pretty much gives you everything you'll need and ever get within the first 20 minutes of the game. Everything, minus the selfie cam. All the story missions and all the equipment, just from the get-go. A lot of the stuff you get as well is rarely ever actually useful outside of the puzzle rooms themselves, or just hitting enemies with blocks. Although I must say I did find myself falling out with the bombs all too frequently, mostly just from accidentally blowing myself up. And again! And maybe again, I don't know, I'm not sure if I actually recorded anymore. Let's talk about combat quickly. It's alright, monsters can seem annoyingly difficult at times, primarily as they have a tendency to one-hit KO you constantly. However, it seems that we've decided to send Link to fight the very concept of evil and chaos itself, using LARPing weapons. They shatter and break in moments, and normally this is fine, but as you go against particularly tough enemies, you find yourself just smashing weapons against the ass of some beast. It can be annoying to lose because you just ran out of weapons. Speaking of, the bow and arrow is something that ends up being near vital for either most puzzle rooms or even pretty much every single boss in the game. But I continuously found myself completely lacking in arrows and struggling to actually find any to use. Occasionally and very rarely I'd find a chest which actually had 5 arrows in, as if that was an actual form of reward. Although this isn't helped too much by when I do have arrows, I tend to just accidentally spunk them up a wall. Overall though, I greatly enjoyed Breath of the Wild. It was a nice breath of fresh air to the series as a whole. Certain updates worked wonders, like the cooking, which became a constant delight to experiment with.
Oh, tasty!
I feel like the story is one of the things that was generally one of the biggest letdowns of the entire game. It was wonderful and great, but it was presented poorly, or not presented at all. It felt so much like a missed opportunity as you know, there was so much story going on 100 years prior to the game that had the game been set during that time, I think I would have loved it. Make this game the exact same, but 100 years prior, and it would have been perfect. But instead, you get these interesting events and these interesting characters in obscure flashbacks that you have to actively go and hunt out with nothing more than a simple picture to look at. I mean, look at this. This is just a forest. Where the fuck is this? Here, though, there's not much. The game is as deep as its surface, and that's a real shame. Had they made the world a little bit smaller and just add a bit more depth to it, I'd have greatly enjoyed it so much more. There are moments where you do have these, like, dungeon-like trials or escapades that, suddenly you found yourself spiraling away in this little corner of the world. It was wonderful. But then you're back in the open world with nothing to do for the next 30 minutes as you run to maybe the next story aspect. For the most part, what you see on the world map is what you get. What you're given at the start of the game is all there is to do. It's wonderful that you can go and fight Ganon literally from the get-go. But I don't also want the only story quests to be given to me from the first minute. I don't want all the story to be given to me in the first minute of the game. Also, the final boss battle and the ending is a bit dogshit. However, it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. Don't kill me.